All right, I'm just gonna show you all how I got this water pump out. I saw a lot of mixed stuff out there. So I figured I'd show you all what I did. So I dropped the compressor down first. And I did that because there's bolts on the inside of the water pump near the block. I know this is kind of backwards from what you see, but here and here that you really can't get to. So first you want to drop the compressor down, because you can get this bolt that connects the housing over to this side, because I couldn't get to it without dropping the compressor. And you want to drop the compressor from the block. Don't unhook a hose, because that destroys your AC system. So you got 1, 2, there's one at the bottom that you can't see, 3 and 4. There's 4 bolts that hold the water pump and the thermostat housing to the block. So you want to undo all those. And then once you do that, the water pump and the thermostat housing is loose from the block. Next you have this, which is your heater cord hose right here. And that goes into the back side of the thermostat housing right here. And there's an O-ring on it. And so there's a clip too. And this is the bolt. So you got to undo the bolt from the back of the thermostat housing to be able to remove the heater core. If you try to do it, you're going to destroy it. So you got to remove this bolt. It's a little bolt like this, and it threads onto that clip right here that connects to the back, and there's an O-ring. Mine was really hard to get off because of this O-ring. I guess got hard and it corroded, so I sprayed it with penetrating oil and then started twisting the water pump back and forth, and then stuck a screwdriver between the base here and the back of the housing, and then was able to get it off. But you got to make sure you don't yank on this, because this is hooked into the back of your block. So you got to make sure you're either holding this or putting pressure between it to unhook it. And that allows the housing and the water pump to come out. Most people try to do it while it's in the block. And you should replace that O-ring if you're maneuvering the water pump and the housing. So, and I don't have enough room with my fat hands to get between that block and the housing to clean it. So once you get it out, you'll have the old water pump and the thermostat. This is the thermostat housing, and this is the new water pump, but they'll be together, and you can just loosen the 6 bolts here and remove the new water pump, the old water pump, and then clean it up. I already cleaned this up. Mine was really nasty, but I was able to get the housing cleaned on both pieces. And then I also had a problem. I'm gonna get rid of this light. I had problems with getting the pins out on the thermostat housing. They were really stuck in there. So what I did was I used a drill. So let's say this was one of the pins right here that was connected into the housing like this. And then I use, sorry, I'm trying to hold there we go. So then I use some vice grips. And this is another reason I like getting this out of the bay, because you really can't clean this thing really nice and get these pins out if they're stuck while they're in the unit without what I feel would destroy the heater tube. And you just grab it here, and you can hold the housing and twist with the vice grips like this, and they came out. I sprayed them with penetrating oil for like 15 minutes before I tried to pull the pins out, and they came right on out after I did that. But yep, got everything prepped. The next step, and I saw some other people, they had a gasket like this, and they were putting gasket maker on the mating flanges, which you're not supposed to do if you already have a gasket. You use gasket sealant like this. It's a tack, and that sits on this face. You let it sit for 5 minutes with the gasket, and then you mate the surfaces on both sides. So that'll what I'll do next. I'll paint both sides with this gasket sealant here, all the way around in here. And then I'll put the gasket on the water pump, because it has the alignment pins for the gasket and then I'll mate them together, and then I'm going to torque the bolts together, the 6 that came out for the water pump, and then you'll have your whole housing back together. I'll bring you back after I'm done. All right, so this is the gasket sealant painted on. You want to make sure you don't get any inside the pump. I tried to clean it off as much as possible. I already painted the other side, and then I put the gasket on. So there is, as you can see, the red. I did the same thing here, and I just put the gasket on. So now I'm gonna put the 2 pieces together, mate them, and then I'll use these 8 bolts. I'm gonna put a little bit of thread locker on it right at the end, and I'll torque everything down. All right, so what I do here, I put a little thread lock on there. And these are 10 millimeters. They get torqued to 12 foot-pounds, so it's not a lot. And these are aluminum, so I usually, thread these in by hand in crisscross pattern, as tight as I can get them. And I'm going to use my small torque wrench. Again, 12 foot-pounds. You can convert that to inch-pounds, which is what I did on my wrench. And you want to tighten in a crisscross pattern. Make sure they go down flat, because this is aluminum. Don't over tighten them or you'll crack it. So these are the 4 bolts that mount the housings, the thermostat housing and the water pump. These 4 mount this to the block. So I cleaned them up as much as I could. I'm gonna put some thread locker on it, and I'm gonna start installing them. These are supposedly installed at 20 foot-pounds per the direction. I'm gonna put them in once they feel super tight. I mean, I don't want to crack this because this is aluminum again, so we'll put them in tight enough with some thread locker, so I don't want to put them in too tight. And I forgot to mention, I'm going to install the pulley back onto here before I put it in there, so I don't have to do that when it's in crunch time. Don't be like me. I torqued everything up, got it all installed, and then forgot I didn't put my alignment pins in. So don't forget the alignment pins you took out to install back in the pump, because you don't want that pulley to be out of alignment, or the faces. So I'm going to install these back in, then torque everything back up again and get everything installed. Bring it back. All right, she's in there. So I said before, these were 20 foot-pounds. Make sure you have your alignment pins in, like I said. 20 foot-pounds, crisscross pattern. I take my time putting these in. Again, it's aluminum, so just take your time. And then the last thing is the bolt back here for the heater cord tube. I can't show you it. You have to do it all by feel. I mean, I showed you when it was off, but while it's on here, I can't show you. You have to move the compressor forward, and you can get a little small ratchet with a 10 millimeter on it right there. You can tighten it. I have no clue what the torque specs. I couldn't find those for this, but I just did it to feel. Tighten it up there nice and tight so it doesn't come off. And yeah, that's all in there now. So next I'll be moving to the thermostat, getting that tightened up and putting the tube on. All right, thermostat's ready. Remember the weep hole, this little valve goes at the top. It's supposed to be, once you fill it with coolant, air is allowed to pass the valve. Anyways, so it'll go with the valve at the top, the weep hole, just like this. All right, just like so. And we'll install cleaned off the housing. There was a lot of gunk on this face. I had to use brake cleaner to get it kind of clean. I don't really like using brake cleaner on plastic parts, but I did it super quick and wiped it off and got it all cleaned up. So this is ready to install. All right, so got this all tied in. These two are easy to get to. This last one, I'm gonna have to use a wrench. Hopefully y'all can see it. It's right there on the bottom, right here. You can't get your torque wrench on it. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get them all tight, kind of snug, and then I'll torque this one down here, and I'll put my wrench on it, and I'll tighten. I'll feel how tight it is, and then I'll do the one on the bottom, and then I'll do this one last. All right, so got the 3 compressor bolts. 1, 2's all the way here on the bottom, and let's see if I can't point it out. 3's right there. So those go in at 17 foot-pounds. So got all that tightened up, put the hose back on. So last thing is putting on the new belt. All right, so the easiest way is, I've shown y'all how it's put on here right now. It's not all the way tight, but I leave this one all the way on the right side off because I think it's really hard to try to move the tensioner down and try to slide the belt over with it, that gap on there. It's just easier to work on this side with your hand because it's more free. So I'll put the wrench on there, push down, and then slide that drive belt over, and then that'll be done. All right, so everything else is installed. Got the belt on. You can kind of see the path it takes. It's all the way down, comes back on the outside there, comes back up, goes under that one and back up. So that's installed now. The tensioner is there. You turn it clockwise to loosen the belt to get it installed. Next step is to fill the system now. Make sure you close the peacock that you open that's under here. You'll see it. It's like right here. Make sure you close the peacock for when you drained it. There is, when you fill, there's a bleeder. So if you see this shiny new bolt back there with my light shining on, there is a bleeder hole bolt back there. I tried taking mine out and it galled. I mean, that thing was trash. It was so rusty and nasty. And I replaced my coolant sensor, which is what my light's on now, that gray one back there with the red dots on it. That was pretty hard to get to. You got to use a swivel with a long extension to get it out. And you got to, and the bolt that's there, this one that I replaced, the shiny one my light's on right now, that's kind of in the way when you use one of those oxygen sensor sockets with the hole on the side. So just be careful when you do that. I'm gonna go ahead and fill her up and see if I can't get this thing to get the air out without having to take that bolt back out. We shall see. Just in case someone was wondering, that's the belt. This is the water pump, and this is your thermostat. Oh, there we go. And it comes with the seal. Some of these thermostats, you get them and they don't come with the seals. So those are the ones I use. So just took her on a 5 to 10 minute drive, and the temperature gauge hasn't even gone halfway yet. It is cold outside, but before it was going in, it was just kissing the hot. So I believe I fixed my issues all over. So hopefully this helped you. All right, started her up. You don't see no leaks around the water pump, the thermostat housing case. There's no leaks below the thermostat case housing. Nothing on the heater core tube. Call that a wrap. Even back here on the back side where I did the sensor replacement, or where I had to put in that other bolt, no leaks there, you can see. Let me try to put it back here so you can see that there. So everything looks great. Took her on a 10-minute ride, as I showed earlier, and the temperature didn't even go above half. So I think I fixed my issue here. So hopefully this helps.